In the heart of the African savanna, where the sun dipped into the horizon and painted the sky with hues of crimson and gold, there lived a young boy named Ibuka. He was a skilled hunter, just like his father and grandfather before him. With his trusty bow and quiver full of arrows, Ibuka would venture into the bush, returning with fresh meat for his family's dinner. But fate had other plans. One day, while chasing after a swift antelope, Ibuka tripped and fell, landing awkwardly on a sharp stick. The stick pierced his eye socket, leaving him writhing in agony. The pain was excruciating, and Ibuka's world went dark. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Ibuka's eyes never fully recovered, and his passion for hunting dwindled. He became withdrawn, spending most of his days lounging in the shade, feeling sorry for himself. His brother Okonkwo, who had always assisted him on hunting trips, tried to encourage Ibuka to find a new passion, but he refused. Tragedy struck again when Okonkwo fell ill and passed away, leaving Ibuka alone and adrift. With no one to turn to, Ibuka's life spiraled out of control. He began stealing from neighbors, committing petty crimes and feigning innocence when confronted. His once promising life had devolved into a circle of dishonesty and laziness. Ibuka's charm and good looks often got him out of trouble, but deep down, he knew he was lost. He was trapped in a web of his own deceits, and the guilt was eating away at him. He would lie awake at night, haunted by the memories of his past, wondering how he had fallen so far. Ibuka's life was slowly getting out of hand. One day, he decided to visit the village market to buy a chicken. As he walked through the stores, he came across a beautiful hen with shiny feathers and bright eyes. He couldn't resist the urge to buy her. Excited about his new purchase, Ibuka announced to the entire community that he had bought a hen. He carried the hen proudly on his shoulders, showing her off to everyone he met. "I have bought a hen," he exclaimed. "She's going to lay eggs for me and start my poultry farm." The villagers congratulated him on his new venture, and soon everyone knew about Ibuka's hen. But as time passed, he started to crave more, and his desire for other people's hen became too strong to resist. One night, under the cover of darkness, Ibuka snuck into his neighbor's house and stole a hen. The next day, when confronted by the neighbor, Ibuka calmly replied, "But this is my hen, the one I bought at the market." The neighbor was confused, but Ibuka's charm and confidence convinced him that he was telling the truth. This became a pattern. Ibuka would steal hens from different people, and when caught, he would claim that it was his original hen. The villagers were baffled, wondering how Ibuka's hen could be in so many places at once. As the days went by, Ibuka's reputation began to suffer. People started to whisper among themselves. Ibuka's hen became a synonym for thievery. But Ibuka didn't care. He was addicted to the thrill of stealing and the ease of getting away with it. Ibuka's troubles seemed to follow him everywhere. After he realized the hen would soon expose him, he turned his attention to his brother's wife, Mori. Mori worked hard to make ends meet, selling snuff at the market to care for her children since her husband's passing. But every time she left some snuff at home, he would steal it all, leaving nothing behind. Mori confronted Ibuka multiple times, but he denied any wrongdoing, sometimes even getting angry and defensive. She couldn't understand why her brother-in-law would stoop so low as to steal from her, especially when she was working so hard to provide for her children. One day, Mori had had enough. She decided to set a trap for the snuff thief. She bought some pepper, dried it for days, and then ground it into a fine powder. She She mixed the pepper powder with a small amount of snuff and placed it in the container, waiting for the thief to strike again. When Mori left for the market, Ebuka saw his chance. He snuck into the house and made a beeline for the snuff container. He inserted the snuff into his nose, as was the custom, but immediately began coughing and shouting, "Warrior has killed me! Warrior has killed me!" People nearby heard Ebuka's cries and rushed to his aid, but he couldn't explain what was wrong. He was too busy coughing and sputtering to speak. The people were confused, wondering what would have caused Ebuka's sudden distress. Meanwhile, Mori was at the market, selling her snuff and going about her day. But when people came to inform her that her brother-in-law was about to die and was calling her name, she couldn't help but laugh. She knew exactly what had happened. When Mori arrived at the scene, she found Ebuka still coughing and sputtering. She asked what was wrong, but he couldn't say anything. His throat was still burning from the pepper powder. Mori just laughed and laughed, tears streaming down her face. Finally, Ebuka managed to croak out an explanation. "Mori, I didn't know it was pepper." Mori's laughter grew even louder. "You should have thought of that before you stole from me, Ebuka," she exclaimed. "Now, you will think twice before stealing from me again." The villagers gathered around, enjoying the spectacle. They had all been victims of Ebuka's thievery at one point or another, and it was satisfying to see him get his reward. As Ebuka slunk away, defeated and embarrassed, Mori turned to the villagers and said, "Let this be a lesson to all of you. If you steal from me, you will face the consequences." From that day on, Ebuka never stole from Mori again. He learned his lesson the hard way, but he learned it nonetheless. And Mori continued to sell her snuff, her business thriving now that she had found a way to protect herself from thieves.
Story 2.
THIER and the Mermaid. Once upon a time, in a small village by a river bank, there lived a curious and adventurous little boy named THIER. One sunny afternoon, while playing near the river, THIER's house key slipped from his pocket and tumbled into the water. Without a moment's hesitation, he dived in, determined to retrieve it. The water was clear and cool, and THIER swam deeper, following the glint of his key as it sank. Just as he grasped it in his hand, he raised his head and found himself in an entirely different world. The river's surface shimmered above him, but all around were mermaids, their tails sparkling in shades of blue and green. One mermaid with golden scales and flowing hair swam up to him. "Welcome, THIER," she said, her voice melodious and soothing. "You've entered our realm. To return to your world, you must help us retrieve 4 ancient treasures. Each task will test your bravery and cunning." Desperate to return home, THIER pleaded with the mermaid, his voice trembling with fear. "Please, I just want to go back to my mother and my grandmother. They must be worried about me." The mermaid's expression remained unmoved. "You cannot return until you complete the task," she replied firmly. THIER's eyes filled with tears as he realized the gravity of his situation. He cried and sang sorrowful songs for hours, hoping the mermaids would change their mind, but they remained steadfast in their decision. Seeing no other choice, THIER wiped his tears and gathered his courage. "I will face your thirst," he declared, his voice steady with newfound determination. "I'll retrieve the treasures so I can be allowed to go home." The mermaid instructed THIER to seek out Afamifuna, a wise and venerable elder who lived in a distant town called Ogene, and retrieved a sacred box from him. The box was said to contain a powerful amulet that would aid Esiri on his journey. Afamifuna was renowned for his boundless wisdom and possession of the box, which was only bestowed upon those who proved worthy. As Esiri set out on his journey to Ogene, he traveled through dense forests and crossed scorching deserts, facing numerous challenges along the way. He encountered fierce beasts and overcame treacherous terrain, testing his courage and resolve. After many hours of travel, he finally arrived at the outskirts of Ogene, a town in a valley surrounded by towering mountains. The town was a marvel of beauty, with houses built from a mix of stone and wood, and streets paved with a glittering black stone that seemed almost otherworldly. The townspeople were friendly and welcoming, and they directed Esiri to Afamifuna's residence on the outskirts of the town. When he entered the residence, he saw Afamifuna sitting on a stone bench, his eyes closed in meditation. Esiri, filled with a sense of entitlement, didn't bother to greet the wise old man. Instead, he demanded, "Where is the box? I have come for it." Afamifuna opened his eyes, looked at Esiri and said, "You enter my presence without a greeting, young one. You show no respect, no humility. How can I entrust you with the sacred box?" Esiri scoffed. "Respect? Humility? I don't need those things. I just need the box." Afamifuna shook his head. "You are rude and arrogant, Esiri. You must learn to respect those who have come before you, to listen and learn from their wisdom. Only then will I consider giving you the box." Esiri was taken aback. No one had ever spoken to him like that before. He realized that he had acted foolishly and that Afamifuna was right. He took a deep breath and began to apologize. "Forgive me, Afamifuna. I was wrong to act in such a way. I will learn to respect and listen." Afamifuna nodded. "Good. Then let us begin your lessons, young one." And so, Esiri embarked on a series of tasks set by Afamifuna, each designed to test his character and determination. Task 1. The heart of the matter. Afamifuna presented Esiri with a delicate situation. Two beloved townspeople, once inseparable friends, were now at odds over a precious family heirloom. The atmosphere was tense, and the community was divided. Esiri was tasked with mediating the conflict and finding a resolution that will restore peace to the community. Initially, Esiri tried to use his strength to impose a decision, but his attempt only led to more hurts, feelings, and frustrations. As he witnessed the pain and anguish of the two friends, he realized that this was not a task for brute force, but for compassionate understanding. He took a deep breath, sat down with both parties, and listened to their stories, their fears, and their dreams. He shared tales of his own struggles and losses, and slowly but surely, the walls of resistance began to crumble. The two friends began to see beyond their differences and remember the love and laughter they once shared. With Esiri's gentle guidance, they found a way to resolve their disputes, not by dividing the heirloom, but by creating a new joint family tradition that honored their friendship and the memories they had. The community rejoiced, and Esiri learned that true strength lies not in physical power, but in courage to listen, to understand, and to heal. Task 2. Help a stranger in need. Esiri was instructed by Afamifuna to help a stranger in need without expecting anything in return. He was directed to a nearby forest where an elderly woman lay ill and weak. Esiri helped the woman recover, fetching water and herbs to aid in her recovery. But as the woman regained her strength, Esiri demanded a gift in return, threatening to leave her if she didn't comply. Fearful and grateful, the woman handed him a small bag of money. Esiri took it, feeling entitled to the reward. However, as he walked back home, he opened the bag to find that the money had turned to dust. He realized that his greed and entitlement had rendered the gift worthless. Afamifuna appeared, shaking his head in disappointment. Esiri, you fail to understand the true meaning of selflessness. Your desire for reward corrupted the act of kindness. Remember, the joy of helping others is the reward itself, not the expectation of something in return. Esiri felt ashamed and disappointed in himself. He returned to the elderly woman, apologized for his behavior, and offered to help her again without expectation of reward. Afamifuna nodded in approval, seeing the genuine change in Esiri's heart. Well done, Esiri. You have learned a valuable lesson about the true meaning of selflessness. Task 3. Letter of Apology. Afamifuna instructed Esiri to write a letter of apology to someone he had wronged in the past, and read it aloud to the community. Esiri chose to write to his childhood friend, whom he had betrayed in a moment of weakness. He confessed his wrongdoing, took responsibility for his actions, and expressed his sincere regrets. Reading the letter aloud was a difficult but liberating experience for Esiri, teaching him the importance of accountability, courage, and making amends. He realized that true strength lies not in hiding from mistakes, but in facing them head-on and seeking forgiveness. Well done, Esiri, Afamifuna said, presenting him with the sacred box. May all you've learned guide you on your journey and remind you of the lessons you have learned here today in Ogene. Esiri received the box with gratitude, feeling a sense of pride and accomplishments. He knew that the journey ahead would be long and difficult, but he was ready to face it with the wisdom and humility he had gained in Ogene. With a newfound appreciation for the world and its wonders, Esiri set out on the next leg of his journey, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead.